This is the Box Banter podcast. I am Raymond and this is Timothy. And this week we were in Austria for, believe it or not, the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yes, I heard that was on.
It was on. I know you didn't watch it live.
I watched half of it.
Your commitment is really starting to worry me.
No.
See, I'm going to have to roll this pod solo.
I was committed until I fell asleep, and that's beyond my control.
Oh, yeah? So what time did you watch the race? How delayed did you watch the race?
So I watched the race, sort of half an hour delayed, and then I got about halfway through, and then I definitely fell asleep. And to the point, I don't even remember,
See, that's the difference between you and me. See,
I'm out of my
committed.
Control. Listen, Formula One decide to, hey, we're going to put the race on at 11 p.m. for Australians. Mm-hmm. That's what they get.
That's actually not a bad time.
It's not. And that is the sad thing. That is a good time. That's a great time.
Sadly, it is one of our best scheduled races, for sure.
Yeah.
Austria the Red Bull Ring, I'll say, is easily one of my favourite tracks. Easily.
I know, you've always said that, and I just don't feel the same way about it.
I don't know. I think it has a feel like a go-kart feel to it.
Yeah.
It's
small.
It's small, so it's easy to remember, but it bites if you get it wrong.
Dum-dums out there definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm in that category, you know. 10 corners, I think?
If that.
Goes just over a minute. I don't know. I think overall, as a viewer, I probably prefer watching longer tracks with half the amount of laps. But there is something that I appreciate about like a 71 lap. You know, you're having to perfect every corner 71 times, you know.
It is always a bit stunting when you get to like Spa and it's like, only 42 laps. Like it feels so bizarre.
Yeah.
But
it feels like, where's the rest of the Grand Prix? Have they shortened this?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and as an example, like NASCAR, they do a couple of road courses and they love shortening the tracks as much as they can.
This guy with NASCAR.
Because the trackside people, there to see the cars. The more times you can see the cars, the more bang for your buck. So, you know, like to your point, you've got Austria versus Spa. Don't get me wrong, I love to go to Spa. But you technically not. You get the vroom and they're gone again 72 times at Austria or 40 times at Spa.
Yeah, but I guess the other thing with Austria, if you're more at the back end of the track, you can kind of see the whole track. Like, because it's sort of on a hill. If you're on some of those back grandstands, you kind of get to see everything, which is quite unique in Formula One.
I think one thing I do like the track, and I like that it is it's a bull ring. It's literal.
It's cool. I
boring.
like the whole theme of everything going on there.
The problem with the track is that, and yes, yesterday's race was a prime example. The Antonelli, the excitement of that last lap, as soon as they get out of that hairpin, you can pretty well defend into that next corner, and then you know there's nothing happening after that. That's 15, 20 seconds into the lap, you know there's no wait till you get to the last corner. Like, the overtaking's done at that point. Like, you only get one,
I think I disagree.
And that's pretty well it.
You have that turn 3 hairpin, and then you got the run down to that turn
4, which would be,
which is also another
4
passing.
3, so.
Yeah, which is, well, you know, sometimes they have those weird little kinks where they're like, that's a corner, and you're like, really?
Is it? It's flat out.
There's more bend in my cock than that.
Nice, bringing the cock out early.
Yeah, you know, we're all class on this show. But and then you have you have obviously when you're on the main straight, you have the little turn 1. You can kind of if you can get a decent enough run, you can.
But that's what I mean. For like a final lap, you're
there.
not allowing that to happen. You know, if you're fighting for a meaningful position,
passing opportunities.
Yeah,
I mean, on a 10 corner lap,
1.5. Yeah, but that's what I mean. When you're watching that race unfold and the ending, it's all exciting. You're building up to it, but then pretty much you get out of that hairpin and the writing's on the wall straight away. If the car behind is getting a run or not, and if they're not, you're like, that is literally it. We're 2 corners into this track.
You always round up, by the way. Always round up.
How do you mean?
You know, you just stop robbing yourself of an extra centimeter, extra corner.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, maybe I'm a realist.
You go from you include the balls in there too.
Yeah,
you know?
True. Yeah, gives you a bit extra.
So I think the first talking point.
I need as much as I can get, by the way.
Well, that's what I mean. You're only rubbing yourself. I think the biggest talking point of the weekend has to be qualifying. Okay. George Russell's pole lap was about as solid as Pierre Gasly's P3 in Monaco, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was yucky, wasn't it? And it was like a lead balloon.
I don't understand how every car on the track is basically neutralized, and under the operating under the assumption that it's a double yellow. There's a car in the wall. That's a high-speed corner too. Like the runoff there, did I hear that there wasn't gravel there in previous years? And that's a new thing? Pretty sure that's a new thing. Pretty sure that gravel there is a new thing.
It's surprising if that's the case.
The speed he carried through there and still hit the wall at a pretty decent, wallop. It's surprising. Not often do you see Max make an error, whether it's driver or car, irrelevant.
Combination.
But the concept of setting a pole lap, the fastest lap in a session, on a lap where an incident has occurred, to me baffles my brain.
So I've got a few issues with it, and one I just come up with talking to you now. It is kind of like that. It's the whole celebrating in a dull moment, because you had. And it didn't feel real when it was happening because your Brundles, Ferrari 1-2, not Brundle, the other one, Crofty. Ferrari 1-2, double wave yellows, no one's going to be able to settle lap. So, like, you built everyone up who's watching. I was like, this is great.
I was off the couch and I was like, but Ferrari have got a masterstroke
exactly.
here.
And then that happens and you're kind of like, oh, well, that surely doesn't count. And then it's also like by 2/10. So you're like, weird. Like, he should probably not only lose a lap, but get, like, stung for speeding through that. But then, it's like, the fact is, Max was getting out of his car. That car could have been on fire. Max would have needed to get out in a hurry. And then you're allowing cars to do a 50% lift and like you're happy with that. That is the precedent you've set. But then the worst thing is that they said it was double wave yellows 20 seconds later. So cars that were 20 seconds behind Russell who wouldn't have been able to play that same card. That's what's shit. That to me, it's the whole thing a couple of years ago when they were holding off on reds and quality to allow some cars to finish their lap and then they'd call it. And it's like, whoa, you just call it when it happens. And some people get lucky and some people don't. Yeah. It's this whole, we've waited, all right, now it's doubles. But it's like, okay, but what if, Lando or Oscar or whatever was coming through at that time and then now it's double? When the incident hasn't changed, nothing's changed, the incident's happened, but now it's more dangerous and now the laps are cancelled when they weren't before.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think that the FIA are practicing safety standards that only fit their narrative. So I don't understand because Antonelli was actually the first driver through with the incident. And he was already under the understanding, whether it was from a steering wheel or whether it was from a sign, that it was double yellows and he's pulled off. He's done morally and ethically the correct thing. A driver has had an accident. Nobody knows the severity of it.
Exactly.
He's backed out of the lap in the name of safety.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You go into that corner max attack, which you shouldn't be under yellows, but that's... The lift is anywhere in that sector, So you've come in there, 95% max commitment. Yeah. Again, if that car's on fire and Max is like, I'm getting out of this thing, hell or high water, and then you've got George coming in who's decided to lift off 15 metres earlier than his brake marker, and then he goes ploughing into that. That's the problem.
Moving on from that awkward cut.
Tech issues, don't worry about it.
Due to audio issues. If my biggest issue with the Russell thing, there's three here. Let me reel them off. So the first one I've already mentioned. It's how do you set a fastest lap on a lap that has an incident? That just doesn't make any sense to me. And in the name of safety, that should never be the case. The second one is the lack of consistency with it. Now, to me, this almost like I'm noticing a thing in sport. It's all sports that have it, but Formula One have the same problem, and it makes the lack of consistency makes it feel phony. Like, how can you hold such various standards across different races, and then to fit, this narrative that you want to build, whether it's to try and keep a title fight between the two Mercedes drivers, whether it's because George has had a run of bad luck, so now it's his time to have some good luck. Whatever it is, I don't like how phony it makes it feel.
It makes it seem like it can be manipulated from the powers that be.
Yeah, it doesn't. It takes the authenticity out of the racing. He's standing there going, this was a masterstroke. I was the fastest guy out there. The lap felt incredible. It just sucks that I didn't get a chance to do a ripping lap because there was another 4/10 in it. Whatever. Every car backed off. And it was even proven that Antonelli was going faster on that lap. Yeah. So I doubt that he would have gotten the pole, and I doubt he would have gotten the race win because of it. It's all a knock-on effect from this one little thing.
And unfortunately for Kimi, that shows probably his inexperience. He probably just saw yellow. I mean, even the commentators didn't really know what they were looking at. They thought they were double yellows. They were confidently calling that lap off the commentary team were, not waiting for what the stewards had to say. They were like, no, that won't count. Like, they were so confident.
So
you can't even blame Kimi, who went into it thinking, oh, okay, this has to be a full bail lap. I mean, I don't know why it wasn't a red.
No.
We always see this in qualifying. A crash in the wall, that's it. There's nothing else you can do. It has to be red flag to recover.
And that's what I mean. The whole thing just feels gross. Like you're setting a precedent of as long as the driver goes, little lift like this, he was safe. But then the third thing I wanted to bring up was post-race when Sky Sports were doing their best to prove that George was a genius and it was all kosher. They were glazing so hard. They were manipulating everything. You know, George is pleading his case. I'm actually a fucking genius. You know, all this sort of shit. Like, it was kind of hard to watch where it was like, you're kind of missing the big picture here.
Yeah.
His own words were, he saw the yellow, he lifted, but he had no idea where the car was.
Yeah.
How is that?
That's not safe.
In the name of safety.
Yeah.
It just shows your mind is focused not on where's the incident and is everyone okay and do I need to look out for people on the track or whatever.
Just
your mind is awareness. As long as my foot came off the pedal, I can still set a pole lap here.
And props to him for knowing the rules by the letter of the law. But this is what should have been a red because, again, it's precedent.
He admitted he has no idea where the car was.
Yeah.
So then what's to stop him from flying off? What if there was oil on the track or something that then he has still gone through that corner at 300 kilometers an hour?
And that's why it needed to be red because you're meant to lift in a yellow. You're not meant to be able to beat your lap time. You're not meant to be able to go quicker. Yeah, you just got to lift, but you should be lifting enough that you can react if something appears in front of you. So the fact that they've allowed that lap to count is a problem in the first place. It should have been Max in the wall. No one should even be allowed to try to beat the lap.
Just neutralise the race right there.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about time or whatever, make amendments in the rules that if there's an off, you know, everyone gets the chance to reset for one more lap or something. Whatever it is. Like,
every team makes their own decision. You see the way they all crawl around the track at 10 kilometers an hour. You know the risk. Exactly. You know the risk of what you're going into. That is how the game has always been. We see it all the time at Monaco. Silly buggy games where you go and you bring a red out to end quali. This is what happens.
No, you're right.
Wasn't playing that game.
You see cars that leave it to the very last second to try and get the best track conditions to set a pole lap. But the risk is if someone goes off, you don't get to set a lap. You know, so it is a risk versus reward thing here. I disagree. I think that the pole lap shouldn't have or stood.
And like I said,
and I think he only gets the race win because of that.
Oh, absolutely.
To me, it makes the sport feel inauthentic, and I hate it, and I understand why people switch off from it because this is not why we tune in to watch. We don't want to see somebody half a foot lift get pole and no one else get a chance at it. I mean, Max was looking like definitely like he was on for competing for a win here. You know, unfortunately,
he was close with. Oh yeah, sorry, I was going to say he was close with the Ferrari's times, and the truth is George blew their times out the water with the lift. And so was
Kimi.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is that, like you said, and we saw this last year. You remember last year when Kimi had a weird moment in the pit lane, and he could have forced the issue to get into his box, but he would have absolutely 10-pinned his pit crew.
Yeah.
So then he just chose to drive by and do another lap, sacrifice his race. But again, in the name of safety, in the name of I don't want to hit my guys. And I called it then and there, super mature decision because most drivers go, no, I'm getting in my box because this is going to screw me if I just do a drive-through for no reason. He chose, no, that's not going to work. Do another lap, whatever. And again, that seems to be in his DNA a little bit, is that he's like, it's that cautious approach. It's that bit of care.
I respect that about him because, you know, whilst I love a loophole, and loopholes have always been a part of Formula One and it's always been taken advantage of, I kind of like that this kid is almost... He wants to win it on merit. He wants to be the fastest and the most consistent and the best driver out there. He's not looking for shortcuts. Yeah. You know, we saw in Monaco, we could have had a classic Monaco race where he did 2-minute laps and just,
slowed the field up.
Got the checkered flag, but he didn't. He wanted to win it on pace. Yeah. You know, he wanted to prove that he was the fastest guy out there. You know, he backed off on his pole lap in the name of safety. It cost him the pole. Yeah. Arguably, if it was out of those two Mercedes, he had George. George. Or
he would have at least been alongside. And we saw the pace he had in that race again at the end, like at Spain, came hot at the end.
Yeah.
but he started fourth, fifth, whatever it was, nowhere. Like, and that's what happened here, and that's why the red needs to come out. You're baiting drivers. Formula 1 are baiting drivers into not taking the safety seriously.
It's setting a precedence.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things of, if you don't do it, then you kind of just you're disadvantaging yourself, right? So the next time it happens, what's to say that Kimi doesn't think twice about lifting off or aborting the lap, and then that can lead to potentially dangerous situations. So I think that's the biggest headline from the weekend, and I think it's the biggest talking point, and I think that the FIA dropped the ball on it big time.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. I just also don't understand why it was a single yellow. I feel like the single yellow is like a street track. Someone's gone down the escape road. They will recover. So, allow the drivers to race around. It's not a dangerous situation. They will drive themselves out, waiting for a gap, whatever. Other drivers just need to be aware that there's something on track. Max was never driving that car out of there. That car was not going anywhere. It was damaged. Like I said, you always have the risk of the car catching on fire or anything like that. Max will need to abort that car. He needs to get out of that thing. Why did they do a single yellow? Because if it was a double yellow, like they said, all laps are off anyway, or they just make it red. Why did they do the one thing that allowed this situation to happen, knowing what the car looked like? That we all saw straight away what happened to Max. He was not just going to drive out of that. Even if he didn't hit the wall, he wasn't going to drive out of that gravel track.
And usually the Formula 1 FIA, usually as soon as they see damage to a barrier, they red flag it. And straight away, they want to go down and inspect, make sure it's all good, put it back together, make sure the sponsors can be read, all that sort of bullshit. But you're right. They just delayed everything and let it play out. And they're asking for trouble in terms of safety, I think.
You've made me actually mad.
No, I was pissed off about it all day yesterday.
I was annoyed about the hype. I was like, Ferrari 1-2, following on from last week, everything we spoke about, Lewis Hamilton 8 times, all these things, great, fantastic. Suck it to Mercedes that this happened.
Yeah.
And it was a good 15 seconds of pretty much this is what it is.
Well, it's probably longer because everyone was running under uncertainty. Even the commentators were saying, like, this is going to be, disallowed. Yeah.
But even before that, it was like Charles on pole, like, before he actually got the lap time done, it was quite a long time of, all right, this is what we're in for. And then it was like, oh, okay, George has just crossed the line and gone faster. And that's what I mean. It just sucked everything out of the air. And it was just a big old anticlimax and just kind of, it just ruined the end of quali. This
is the equivalent of, big business that, these big companies that employees work for. And the companies, they want to appear like they care about safety and well-being and everything. They want to appear, but they don't actually give a shit. Yeah. They don't really care. They just want to be
the eyes,
exactly right. And this is the same sort of thing. They want to talk up this big safety game, and there's all these reasons why we don't have things in Formula One, and they've come down very hard. Like the one that comes to mind is the safety car infringement at Silverstone last year on Piastri. They basically ruined his race because they said that was an unsafe practice. Yeah. And then you look at something like this and you think, like, what are we doing?
You're exactly right. Exactly right.
You just want to be perceived as you care, and you're all about safety, but only when it fits the narrative that you're trying to thread.
You can't go too slow. You can't slow down too much in wet conditions once the safety car drives away. You can't slow down too much. But look, a car in the barrier, clearly the driver's going to have to get out. 20 seconds after the crash, you can just go through it with just a little lift. And if George...
And again, one of the highest speed corners.
The highest speed corner on the track.
Yeah.
If you do anything abnormal to the car, like you're doing something different, which puts yourself at risk of losing control. He lifts a little early. He might turn in a little early, or whatever. If he makes a mistake, they are crucifying him. If he does lift early, tries to do the right thing, but also tries to keep the pace on, and he makes a mistake because of that, because it's an abnormal, the way he's driving the car is different because he's trying to keep the pace in, but trying to... all he's doing is showing the data, and that's what they showed us. He lifted, half a second early. That was, as long as the data said, yep, he did something different, that's it. So he's trying to do something different while keeping pace on. If he spins that car out and crashes next to Max, they are crucifying him. Even though they baited him into doing this.
Well, maybe he is British after all, so they might.
I think this was a rare time. This is not a British bias thing because again, Kimi was first. It's like they wanted Mercedes on the front, not Ferrari. It's like they wanted Mercedes up there. They would have been fine if Kimi went through. He was first, and then George gets through, and then after that, it's doubles.
All right, we have to move on. We've spoken about this for solid 20 minutes, and I could keep going. And it does wind you up, doesn't it?
Well, I wasn't wound up about it. I was just disappointed as a fan.
Oh no!
But now that we've discussed it and dissected it,
I'm glad I had that effect on you.
It's actually made me more
play you like a puppet. All right, now I don't necessarily want to talk about George's win. I don't even really blame the guy. I more blame the FIA and the situation.
Yeah. Again, he just played perfectly.
But on that, I don't believe he wins the race without that gift. So I can't sit here and pretend like, oh, George was the best driver out on track today and well done, George. And he's back in the championship fight, because I don't believe it.
No.
I don't believe that he was the best driver out there. I think if Kimi gets to set his pole lap, he probably wins the race. And I think if Verstappen doesn't get strategized out of the race, he was very close to winning the race too. So there's two drivers that I believe looked stronger on race day than George.
The whole, are we into a second?
So yeah, I'll use that to kind of then say that the only reason he secured the win was because Hamilton and Verstappen were slugging it out.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go. Love to see it. Love to see on-track battles, of course. That's what we're all here to see. It's what I've been asking for years, especially between those two. They put on a great show.
There's no pussyfooting around with these two, is there?
They were just letting George get away. Like, every time. That start of the race, you watch that gap go from 2 seconds, blow it out to 5 seconds in a lap because of their tussle.
Happened quick.
Good stuff, great stuff. Want to see the racing, but not when it's at the detriment of the potential of George not winning.
It's a bit of a far-fetched to ask two opposing teams to work together to chase down the third team. I commend both drivers. I commend Hamilton for fighting so hard for the second, and I think that's what Ferrari need to be doing. If even though there was a chance for both of those cars to win, I think that Hamilton fighting as hard for every little bit of track as he is for Ferrari, I think is what Ferrari need. I don't think the mentality of, all right, roll over, maybe Max can get him and, we can maybe come back at the end of the race. I don't think that's there. I think the mentality of not give anything. And he fought Max hard. He essentially did push him off track into the gravel at one bit.
He's just given Max a bit of his own treatment.
No, and it was great to see Max feed it back to him, a couple laps later.
That's right. There was twice at least through that race where they held each other up a little bit. And again, I'm all for it. Like, I'm actually totally fine with it. Just wish it wasn't George who got to benefit from it every single time. And then it's the whole Kimi thing as well. We saw this in Spain. Kimi kind of just was thereabouts with pace. And then at the end of the race, we saw him charge down and get Russell. We saw this again this race. It's like he has the ability to get better over a race, whereas George is pretty plateau, where Kimi can just get better and better. And we saw that. He finished 2 seconds behind him after everything he that sort of happened in that race.
Well, you kind of forget that George was known for a long time as Mr. Saturday. And that's kind of almost truer than ever. He seems to be able to put together good one-lap pace. He can do that. This year, Kimi has really had him at that too. But typically, George, he can qualify well. He just doesn't seem to be able to do it on race day.
I just don't think he just doesn't... Look, over a Formula 1 race, traditionally an hour and a half, the track changes a lot. You get a lot of rubber down. They tend to race in the afternoon. The sunlight goes down. The track gets faster, gets grippier. Temp comes out of the track. The cars bite him better. They get faster. He doesn't seem to adapt to that. He doesn't seem to, as the track evolves, he doesn't evolve with it. And every driver should and does. And Kimi seems to do it really well. But George, they just seem to come to him through a race. So, and that's what seemed to happen. That's what happened in Spain. And that's what seemed to happen today. But, like you said, Max got held up, A, with a dud strat, and B, fighting Lewis twice, which again comes into the dud strat. You got put back behind him a second time. After getting the job done, you then got strategized back behind him. And then, Kimi's starting out of position. But he went off the road 3-4 times in the first lap, and then just obviously had to play the B strat to the end. But then to still have a chance, not of the win, of course, but clearly had the pace. If he was in the right position, cakewalk.
Yeah. I agree. I thought it was an absolute delight to see Verstappen kind of back to himself. Obviously, Red Bull, Ford, Honda, whatever the hell they are right now.
Red Bull powertrains with Ford batteries.
That are Honda builds or I don't know.
Honda DNA.
Obviously, whatever upgrades they did were good. Like, even Hadjar had a good weekend. Like he finished
You
ahead
write
of
this kid off so much.
he probably is the most inexperienced out of those 8 guys, but he finished ahead of Leclerc and he finished ahead of Norris. He looked very comfortable in the car, and there was a good chunk of the race where I was worried that he was going to have Piastri, but Piastri seemed to find quite a lot of confidence this weekend, and we'll get to him in a second.
Yeah.
But I thought it was quite a pleasure to see kind of the old Max back. He looked motivated. He looked motivated to hunt for that pole. He looked motivated to hunt for that win. You know, we've seen him kind of be a bit of a sad boy this year with the regs and everything, and a lot of uncertainty with his Formula One future. Yeah. But it was nice to see that he still had drive and he still had determination. We know he's excellent at this track, and he's got one of the best home race records out there, along with the likes of Hamilton. You almost would have backed him as the favourite coming into the weekend. I think the fact that he came off wasn't necessarily a skill issue. I think it was proof that he was pushing to find that little bit of extra risk to get the lap over the Mercedes and give himself the best chance on Sunday. Yeah. On top of that, we got some classic Max moments. We had him giving Hamilton the finger in practice, giving George the finger in free practice. Yeah. You know, classic Max stuff, which to me, that's some of the best highlights of the weekend. Yeah. And again, it just shows how much it means to him. You know, he cares that he's kind of lashing out in somewhat of a childish way, but I'm here for it because, you know, I love that sort of shit. Yeah. And then I don't know if you heard, but when there was yellows thrown at T10, GP radioed in and said, you know, Max says yellows at T10. Right. And Max radioed back, that means flat out right? Past the car. And then, you know, said that he was joking. Yeah, so again, having a bit of a crack at George. Yeah. So again, I think these are all just things that proves he does care about Formula One. He cares about his weekend. Yeah. And it was nice to see.
No, for sure. This is one of my favorite things about this. What this is turning into one of my favorite things about this year is the swings, and you never know who's going to be the best car. You really don't. We've seen, I'd say McLaren was the fastest in Japan. Obviously, Mercedes has generally been the quickest. Ferrari was quickest, I'd say, in Spain. And Red Bull crept up and down between like second and fourth. Like, I love that every race you go into it, and as long as someone's bringing an upgrade, you're getting such big swings. I mean, going to this race, Ferrari got an engine that was reported to be up to 7 horsepower more. Mercedes have got their engines pruned a bit with this whole, their CC capacity being brought in line.
I mean, Ferrari seem to have lost a lot of their starting procedure advantages as well.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a lot of things that have kind of swung towards Ferrari and pulled away from Mercedes. So I expected this week, you had everything where we got sucked into it as well about this. Here comes Hamilton, 8 times. This is going to be great. He's going to just come and chase down Kimi.
I was telling people all weekend, I'm backing Hamilton for a win here.
Yeah. And then they just had nothing, man. Like, that was back to the 4th fastest car like that. Like, it's just outstanding how fast things can change. And that's what I'm loving. It's like, we have no idea. We have no idea who's going to win this thing. Yep, there's a nice early points lead, but the Mercedes are already clearly do not have. They might still be the best car, but they're not the best car like they had in Australia. They're not the best car like they had in China.
Well, yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. I think a big part of it too is strategy has well and truly come back. We had some cars on a 3-stop strategy. So far.
2 races in a row.
This is almost more than what we had last year, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they were almost faked into a bit of strat, though, today, to be honest. Well, I don't think this 3-stop was a viable option. I think they spooked themselves into it.
I agree, and that's where I was going with this, is I don't necessarily believe that the Mercedes did have a huge pace advantage over Ferrari. I think Ferrari just committed to a dud strategy very early on, and they kept putting Hamilton back in traffic. Yeah. And we saw it was difficult to pass. Yeah. It did take quite a few laps to get close enough to then make a move somewhere. And even then, how many times did you see someone make a pass at turn 3 only to be overtaken before
and again,
the 4th corner?
We had a bit more super clipping than I was expecting. Yeah. In Australia.
So it's still playing in hand here. It's still having an effect on how the chips fall, I suppose. So I don't know if I do necessarily believe that, oh, wow, Ferrari really fell off this weekend. I think that they did just have a dud strategy.
They themselves out, I think.
Yeah. And that cost. I mean, Antonelli was arguably probably in one of the worst positions, and he committed straight away to the two. What it looked like almost a one stop initially. Then it was a two stop.
I think it was. Everyone did pretty well two stop.
Yeah, and he leapfrogged everyone who did a three stop. So, that definitely well and truly proved that was the better strategy. But I like that teams are trying different things.
Yeah, that's what we asked for. The strategy straight away. As soon as Hamilton pitted quite early, and then you could see he came up behind a car, he had to pass him, and all of a sudden he's catching the RBs, and then you're realizing no one else is coming in with him. It reminded me of Oscar Piastri last year in Imola, when he gets passed by Max or whatever, they immediately pit him and then he just gets sunk in traffic. No one pits. He's the only one on that strat and it just buries him.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And then obviously I think combined they didn't have the pace on the hard tyre and that's what they kept sort of going to. I don't know if that's all they had left. I mean, they say every weekend they only get 2 sets of hard tyres, so no one practices on them. So no one actually knows what pace you're going to have on these things until you bolt them on. So yeah, they definitely committed to a 3-stop early. I mean, they didn't need to because they pitted Lewis under that half VSC to just throw some softs on. But that was such you didn't need to do that.
No.
And then again, you're just putting it back again. Like you're just constantly.
Yeah, and I do like that Hamilton was questioning the decisions. Again, it was almost like, guys, we've been over this. Why are we making the same old mistakes? Like,
I mean, it kind of proved it was a bit of lightning in a bottle for Ferrari as a whole last weekend because they didn't put a foot wrong in Spain.
No,
they really made a lot of odd choices this whole sort of race. And then combine that with the fact that I think they did lose a bit of pace, especially on the hard tyre. Yeah, I mean, Charles had nothing. I mean, they literally had to pit him because it was like, well, we can't lose any more spots. We're definitely not going to compete. We're losing so much time to the cars ahead. We'll just pit for the sake of you not having a miserable 20 laps.
It was a deflating message when he said something like, does it? It was something along the lines of like,
what have
we got to lose to pit now? Yeah. And they were like, nothing. Well, nothing now, nothing anymore.
Because we're 40 seconds to the rest of the field, and we are now the last of the top 8, which is where we need to be.
Okay, we got to move on to Oscar Piastri. We got to talk about our guy.
Yeah.
Before we move into the categories.
Stellar weekend for my guy.
Yeah, he looked like his old self. He looked confident and composed, didn't he? He looked like
he made forward progression.
Well, I think that the body language of his driving last week or in Spain 2 weeks ago, was he was hanging on for dear life.
Yeah.
And he just had nothing.
Yeah.
He had no fight. He's going backwards, and he was just basically like the car was driving him, He had nothing. This week was the complete flip of that. It looked like he was very comfortable in the car.
Yeah.
He was very fast. He was pacey. He was confident to put moves on, and he could defend. Like I said, it looked like the Red Bull was probably faster than the McLarens.
Yeah.
And there was times there where I thought Hadjar was going to pip Oscar, and I was like, oh, please, Oscar, just keep this kid behind you, and he did.
Yeah.
So I think didn't quite make the podium, but a lot of positives and a lot of confidence to take from the weekend.
I mean, he was pretty quick through quali, and he just, again, I feel like it's becoming a bit of a story for him, is where Q3 just falls away for whatever reason.
The lap that it matters, the last lap in the last session, when it should be, all right, now everything should come together and get yourself something happens on his lap.
He can't keep it together.
No.
So again, he gets out qualified by Lando, and that was like like another moment of, again, are you serious? Like, this is what this year's been. But then the fact that he overtook Lando lap 1, and they were very fierce. That first lap was quite fierce between that whole sort of group of cars that were involved. Got the move done, and then but he never looked under threat from anyone after that. Like, I know you said Hadjar a little bit, but like not really. He never got side by side. He never had to actually really fend him off.
Hadjar he got into like the overtake zone, or what was once known as the DRS zone, like once, and then Piastri was able to just keep him at bay and ride it out.
He was passing, he passed cars. Everything was just in control. They ran a normal strat. They didn't play silly buggers on him. Like, it was just a positive. Like, I'd love to see him go out and win, but we just need these weekends where he doesn't finish 30 seconds behind fucking Lando Norris. And you don't want to be that 8th car. This is what I feel like this championship has become. When everyone's finishing, who should be finishing? You don't want to be the 8th car.
No. Because that is you've got one of the 4 best cars in on the paddock, and you're the worst guy.
Exactly. And they seem to be, like Charles, they seem to be so far off the pace. It's not like you're 8th and you're keeping touch, like you're nowhere.
No, you're 30 seconds, 40 seconds down the road.
And that's what he was in Spain, and it was demoralising, it was sad, and then we have to sit here and surmise what's going on. And so it's just nice to have this weekend. he finished, I think, 10 seconds in front of Lando, whatever. But he had multiple positions on him, and he had pace all race.
Yeah, he's got a 1 point lead in the championship over Lando now. Yes,
he's fourth in the championship for a guy who kicked his feet up till bloody April, basically.
I think this is what you want. Like how F1 is right now as an Oscar Piastri fan for us it is exciting to watch. I mean, he's not really in a championship battle, and he's probably not realistically even in a Grand Prix fight right now for a win. But I reckon there is a lot of uncertainty. You can feel tensions rising in Mercedes. You can feel a change of guard in Ferrari. You do have the sense of anything can happen. So if he is there in fourth, he could possibly snag a win or two this season. He can probably collect a few more podiums, keep that confidence, keep that momentum going up.
Yeah.
Whatever the update or change that they implemented on the car last week, he clearly wasn't comfortable with. But it seems like he's either heard the noise about people saying shit about him, or he's put in the time and he's adapted and he's gotten more comfortable with this car. And he looked, the only benchmark that we have is him up against Lando.
Yeah.
And he looked more comfortable than Lando.
Yeah.
So I think, next week we'll probably be sitting here and Lando's probably outperformed Piastri, and we could be here going, what happened to him? Like, he looked so good last week. But
he's always been good at Silverstone. We saw last year what he did. With the year before, they had that half wet, half cool, before he'd won a race, and it was looking like he was going to win that.
But this is how the season is, right? It's so up and down. Every track really brings something different. You don't really know who's going to come out, on top.
I mean, Max has said he raced. I don't know. You might have heard it. He raced the sim with this car at Silverstone, and apparently he was laughing at how different the car was. Like this is going to be crazy. Like this race.
Yeah, okay. So, I am looking forward to Silverstone.
So. I really super quick side quest. Like looking at these cars, I'm loving it. Like the cars again through quality. You watch. I mean, I know Max actually tried to kill himself, but the cars are twitchy. Like they don't look easy to control. They don't look like on rails like they used to. They look like you really have to handle them, and they just look like
we did sit here last year saying about you don't want the cars to be too controlled by technology and. Basically now, the weakest thing in the car is the driver, and they're not really having to do anything because the car's kind of doing it all. This kind of feels like they've walked that back a bit, where it's how many times you see them coming out of a corner and they're just sideways. They're looking for grip, they can't get it down. They're having to reel the car back in. It's bringing the driver back in to having an influence on the car, and I think that's why we're seeing guys like Hamilton and you could say Verstappen for this round, still, even though they don't have a car as good as Mercedes, they're kind of still in the conversation because they know how to rein in a car. They know how to push it to the limits and hold it on edge,
That's why I will never buy into the whole Oscar can't drive a slick car. Can't do it on slippery tracks because the cars, they did not look at all comfortable at this track. They didn't in the race, you noticed they didn't look like they were really biting into the ground. Like they looked like they were on top of the surface. They were really, you're seeing so many four-wheel slides sort of into that turn 4, through turn 1. The whole car just wasn't biting into the surface, any of them. It really looked slick out there. And it was it was probably his second best weekend of the year. So again, I just don't think that whole narrative that, you can't drive a car that's a bit taily or you can't drive a car that's on edge is bullshit.
Yeah, we'll see. Still got a lot of the season to go. So, how about we move into the categories for the Austrian Grand Prix? So, the first category, as always, is the final boss category. So, I'm going to run through the nominees.
Yeah.
And then, we'll discuss who we award it to. So,
okay.
The first one is George Russell, I guess.
Do we have boo sounds?
Boo sounds? Yeah. Well, we don't have Chris with us anymore, so true. We're running on a budget.
We're minimal.
Yeah.
Minimalists.
The second one is the FIA's new safety standards. The third nominee, I'll just give you a pause to see if you had anything you wanted to, but that's right.
We've discussed
you mull on it. The third nominee, Red Bull's Q2 strategy giving Verstappen an extra set of soft tyres by 0.04 of a second.
Yeah, I like this. I like this one. This is final boss worthy. And that shows if that talk. I don't know if that says more about Red Bull or more about George. To be honest, but
in the moment, it felt like a miscalculation.
oh my god, didn't it? I mean, I was prepared. I was sitting there thinking to myself, it was down to Gasly, and I was like, it's been 6 years since I fired him. Is this his moment of revenge? Is this
his redemption?
Is Gasly going to get out? He's
Gasly's
qualified
Red Bull
10th.
redemption.
He's going to be up on the car. Like he finally got one back on Red Bull after all these years.
The book was written, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At the Red Bull ring, Max's home Grand Prix. Ex-teammate. He's going to knock him out. Verstappen's going to have egg on his face.
Yep. I was writing the script already. I was ready to go. I was ready to come here today and do all that. But then, Red Bull, they know what they're doing, apparently.
I love how they cut straight to the garage.
Yeah.
And all the guys,
all super chill.
Yeah. Like, no one's sitting there like, oh, thank God, or like, oh, man, that we left that close. Or,
And everyone's just
like, everyone's like, that's... We calculated it, went according to plan.
I mean, Gasly was up in Sector 2.
Yeah.
By 2,000ths of a second, mind you. But, he was up. That's all the team, can see of another car is that he was up. They were like... They wouldn't have expected the RBs. Both RBs got him. I mean, I'm surprised they let that happen. I'm surprised they didn't abort Lindblad's lap or something. Just be like, whoa.
Yeah.
You're putting the big dog at risk here. You need to just reel
Ease up,
this
boys.
in, buddy.
Ease up.
Yeah, but they both got him. I don't reckon they had that on their car. They're probably like, oh, okay, that's a problem.
Well...
Or they were like, we sacked Gasly for a reason. This is all for the world to see. This is a prime opportunity. This is why we sacked the guy.
Yeah, he's got an opportunity and he doesn't take it as per usual. I'd love to know if, I know every driver's going their hardest on the final lap, naturally. But I'd love to know if Gasly's engineer, radios in and tells them, like, hey, door's open here. Red Bull have left the door open. You've got an opportunity. I want full send, 110% go. Or if they just don't know, they don't say nothing. Because you'd almost have to think, if you knew, all right, you're on here. You just got to improve just marginally. And he just puts that little extra risk and he gets him, that could make the difference.
No, he'd have a delta on his time. He'd have a delta on his steering wheel and he'd know exactly if he's positive and negative. Around the whole lap. He'd know exactly what's at stake. He may not know the driver.
Just let me have it.
He may not know the driver that he's don't get me wrong. You'll watch Drive to Survive next year.
Yeah.
And this will be in there.
They'll edit that on there.
There'll be radio communication like, Pierre, just so you know, it's Max. It's Max. It's the guy. It's the king. It's the Lord in front of you. This is your chance to bump from Q2. I mean, I know the stakes are high.
Guess what? He's got his feet up in the garage right now. He's getting
the balls on this guy.
He's surrounded by guys with some fans. They're feeding him grapes. You're out here doing the hard work. Earn that lap, buddy.
Yeah. You think Red Bull can save themselves a set of tires? The cojones. To do it in Q2.
Make them pay.
To do it in Q2. And they were fifth. They were fifth. And they were like, they laughed at the rest of the field. They laughed at the 11 drivers below them. You can't touch me. You can't touch me in fifth.
Look, it all worked out in the end. And it made them look like geniuses.
Yeah. I love the poker face. That was the best part. Cuts to them, they're just like, the car's ready to go.
The only way it would have been better if the engineers turned to each other and shook hands and a couple of high fives, like, yep, just as planned.
Yeah. Everyone in Formula One is trained that there's always cameras there.
All right, so we want to give it to Red Bull?
Yep.
I agree.
The final boss of the weekend for their Q2 shenanigans.
Well, it was great entertainment. Max looked on a heater all weekend.
If he almost won the race and you could pin it down to the fact that he had a fresh set of tyres for every stint, you're super chuffed.
The noob category. Your nominees. Everybody who 3-stopped when it was a 2-stopper.
Yep.
Verstappen being the only car to crash this weekend.
From hero to zero right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Alonso finishing 18th, but getting lapped by 17th.
On pace.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a zinger. Karun had a zinger. I've been thinking about this all day.
Hang on. Is this...
This is for Alonso.
Okay, all right.
He said, and you would have heard this, the only place that I started quicker in the pit lane. Boy, that got me good. Karun that was with good. The zingers.
I would have liked to have shared that moment at the time, over the Discord watching together, but you had to watch it delayed.
I was asleep. Yeah. I watched that this morning when I watched the race. Zingers.
Why do you got to ruin moments?
They were full of zingers this weekend. Did you catch the Mazepin?
I was just going to say Crofty's Mazepin. I know he's playing with fire there.
I thought the same thing. I was like, this guy's Russian. I'd be a little bit bit.
Yeah,
I'd ease up. He's
don't
probably,
forget, his father was like connected to Putin in the
There's
whole...
a reason he lost his drive, and he's probably enlisted at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just chill.
Yeah, no,
But
that was great.
they're the real thing is I like when Brundle's away. They let the boys play.
So what are you saying? Alonso gets it by proxy of that, or what's going on here with the noob category?
I mean, that is very noob. I mean, we know Aston are in trouble, but to finish the race and be lapped by the next slowest car. I mean, they're always going to be lapped multiple times by the leaders. To be so slow, like you're lapped by your next competitor. I just don't know.
It's almost like, are they even allowed to be out on the track? You know, remember when they had this thing about
they do the 107% rule.
Yeah,
that was what Aston were competing with at the start of the year.
If you're in 18th and you're lapped by 17th, to me that feels like you need to be like relegated.
Yeah,
they're lucky they don't go, all right, your car is F3 worthy now.
It's not even. It's not. I mean, literally, what they have a couple of rounds ago that the F2 pole time or the F3 pole time was quicker. It was quicker than Aston Martin.
Only the Aston Martins. Yeah. They're in a spot of bother. I mean
apparently everyone's talking up this B-Spec car, the whole new chassis they're bringing in mid-year.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it was Karun mentioned about how Aston Martin are consistently this two slowest cars on track in qualifying and practices and whatever, and that's including a brand new team in Cadillac.
Yeah,
and it's not even like they're just missing; they're a full second behind them.
Yeah,
so it's sorry states.
But hey. Of those 4 cars, only one finished the race.
Yeah, something to really celebrate there. All right, so I'm happy to give it to Alonso.
I think it's got to go to Alonso.
That's hard. That's not a stat you want to hear.
It's getting bad to worse.
Buffed. The Buffed Award achievement. Your 3 nominees are Racing Balls as best of the rest. Now, we've mentioned a few times over the weeks that there's 8 points finishes that are pretty much guaranteed to 8 cars, which leave 2 points for the rest of the field to try and snag. And Racing Balls comfortably looked like they were 9 and 10 there all weekend. So bravo to them. Being a British driver in Formula 1.
Why?
No, just, the George Russell shenanigans. This just has shades of Lando Norris from last year.
Did you catch the last lap Lando shout out while they were talking about Antonelli?
No.
They had to. I
was probably already hate writing on Formula 1 posts.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe they were talking about Lando Norris while they were talking about Kimi Antonelli.
Just remind me, he finished 7th, yeah?
Yeah. But because they were showing Kimi Antonelli, because the whole overtake mode kicks in with fuel within 1 second at the start of a lap. So that's where you need to be. So they were like, he's within a start of a lap. If he can catch up, if he can stay within a second of Max starting the last lap, it's a bit like the old school DRS. You need to be within a second. Can he do a bit of a last lap Lando? I was like, there's no fucking way right now. There's no way right now. You are talking about Lando Norris. There's how. Well, how are you doing this?
Daddy Lando pays for a allotted amount of Lando time, so they got to get it in when they can.
It's just crazy. That's what it seems like. It's like the Grand Prix is wrapping up. We're a bit behind on our Lando quota.
Yeah, let's spend the last lap with
yuck.
him.
It's rotten. That's not buffed.
The third one. No. You're buffed if you're a British driver in Formula 1.
Yeah.
The third one, Oscar finishing ahead of Lando.
I like that one. Yeah.
Just after last week when everybody, and I wouldn't say that we were shitting on him. We were asking questions of him.
We weren't angry, we were just disappointed.
Yeah, we were asking questions of him.
Yeah.
And I like to think that he heard us, and he wanted to do us proud.
He woke up.
It must always suck when you hear people, ex-F1 drivers, talking shit about you, and Piastri's disappeared, and his form's gone,
and that's whatever. What ex-Formula 1 world champion Jacques Villeneuve and ex-Formula 1 world champion Nico Rosberg, I shouldn't know, that is pretty good. Their comments were, no one's talking about him anymore. He's really just disappeared. And
we're talking about him.
But who was talking about Lando?
Yeah.
Ex-Formula 1 world champion Lando. Who was talking about Lando?
Yeah.
He has one decent race in Spain and he gets off the hook. So Oscar gets off the hook for his escapades here.
Yeah. Bravo to him for turning around and finding some form this weekend and looking like kind of the Piastri that we knew from last year. So who would you like to award it to? Are you looking on
Oscar,
Piastri?
of course. Yeah.
Yep. Hey, I'll take an Oscar victory wherever I can, especially over Lando.
Yeah,
especially. Just like to remind everyone, Oscar is 1 point ahead of Lando in the championship right now. He is better than a world championship driver.
He's ahead of four-time world champion Max Verstappen too.
Well, he's better than the most recently crowned.
Right. He's only a couple of points behind seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. He's right in the mix.
The greatness is written all over him.
It really
I've
is.
never doubted him for a second.
He is surrounded.
Unlike some
with world champions. What?
Doubters.
Me.
We have audio
it's
evidence.
Not doubt.
Would you like me to go back through the tapes and pull it up?
Just then, asking questions of the bloke.
Okay.
Like, where'd you go?
All right.
Like, where have you been? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Show us on the doll what happened.
Yeah.
So we can help fix this.
Are you clocking in today?
Nice. Literally. Yeah. Oscar, put the helmet on.
Okay. Where are we up to? Nerfed. The nerfed achievement. So, your 3 nominees for this one are Cadillac self-immolating as soon as the race starts. Seems to be a pretty common thing. The FIA safety standards.
Good on them for being faster than Aston Martins.
yeah.
I didn't notice any of them catching on fire.
The FIA safety standards getting another little shout out here.
You love that.
Yep.
You're loving it.
And Kimi's WOD Drivers' Championship lead being reduced to 40 points now.
Ooh, scary times. Scary times.
Yep.
My disappointment with that is that it's back to George being in second. There was so much excitement, and I was excited. Hamilton in second, that's how piss poor George has been. That he's let a Ferrari in, so that's disappointing. But the fires is so strange. They both catch on fire, and then Lawson's kind of also maybe on fire.
Like, does this not happen in practice simulation? Like, why is it only
as soon as the
Grand
race
Prix and it starts? They're like, fuck this. You know, I'm out.
Fire.
Yeah, I'm out.
That's very strange. What was the second one?
The second one was the FIA safety standards.
Yeah. So I'd have thought. So did you see that? Apparently, Ben Sulayem they're trying to remove the 12-year limit on FIA presidents.
Yeah.
No. I hope they don't. I thought he was doing good things, but at the moment, and I'm sure he's not waving the flag, but yeah, they need to.
So what's that got to do with the safety standards?
They need to tighten them up. They need to tighten up the consistency. Mm-hmm. Why we know? Maybe it wasn't safety, but we know why the consistency is why Michael Massey was fired.
I mean, that was a pretty blatant.
Yeah. And then they bring in this guy, and then they had we discussed they had the issues a couple of years ago where they were just holding reds for certain people to get finish lap times, and then they kind of neatened all that up, and then now we're sort of seeing it creep back in again. So they just need to. They just need to just button down the hatches. And
so I'm sensing that you want to give it to the FIA safety standards here.
Yeah. Well, you said yourself. I think it's the biggest talking point of this weekend. I mean, it essentially set the results up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it makes the whole thing feel phony. I don't believe George deserved it.
Yeah.
I think that was gross practice from the FIA.
It needs to be an automatic
I think guys
trigger.
like Kimi should be like Kimi was post race is sitting there going like, I should have known better. It was only a single yellow. I should have known better. I should have played the game. And I'm like, is that the mentality that you want the drivers to be having?
Yeah.
Like, isn't the mentality safety is the number one priority and everything else comes second?
But also, I get we're in the modern age and everything, and it's all everything's extracurricular safety, and instead of flag marshals, we've got LED lights. Double wave yellow is apparently half the screen's yellow. Yeah. That means double. But a full screen yellow is single.
I don't like, a lot of people probably don't watch this, but I do. There was a segment where Anthony Davison, and I love this guy. I love it when this guy's on. And if you can't detect the sarcasm in my voice, then,
I couldn't. It's great. What are you talking about?
I cannot stand him. He had George on. George, let's look at your brilliance in the yellow sector.
Maybe that's why I like him.
Yeah. If you watch him, you'll change your tone. Right. George, let's look at the brilliance, And he goes, now look at what we have here. We have a solid yellow. What does that mean, George? That means as long as you lift, you can still go ahead on your lap. You're good. You've done all the right things. You've checked that there's no danger. You've lifted. You've shown that you're operating in a safe manner. Good job.
Yeah.
Now, George, what happens if there's a diagonal on this box? Yeah. That's right. Double yellows. Yeah. Well done, George. And you were the only person who knew that, and therefore you deserved your pole. Look, and I'm just I'm thinking like, why are we going so hard to glaze George for this? Like, you're missing the entirety of the point here. This leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I definitely think of it both ways. I think Formula One played the whole situation wrong, but if the fact is that George isn't natural world championship material, that he's got to read the rule book and fully understand every
loophole
thing that's going on around him, exactly, to know where you can benefit from, then power to the guy.
Yeah.
If he can't come out and just go, I'm not going to distract myself with what that board means, because if I'm in a race situation or if I'm in a situation I see that thing's yellow, I'm going to lift anyway. I'm going to take care, whether it's single or double yellow. Something's clearly going on that I need to be aware of. That's probably the mentality most drivers have. Let me not, take the brain matter to really let that sink in, where I'm going 280 kilometers an hour into this corner and I see that, there's no diagonal on that. I'm sweet to just blip the throttle and continue on my lap. Power to the guy. And my gripe is 100% with Formula One about the way they conducted that. But there is a side piece of me that is disappointed that George is, of course, the motherfucker that gets the benefit from it.
I'll buy you a jersey when he wins the championship this year. Since you're such a fanboy now.
Bit of F1 merch would just be fantastic. So, fork it up.
Okay, so the safety standards get the nerfed
I want that.
achievement.
That's on record, by the way. So,
hey, you're the one that's got to wear it.
You're the
Why
one.
you look silly?
If he wins,
you look silly.
Hey.
Don't worry, I'll make sure I find as many discount codes as I can.
Right on the front. Raymond bought me this.
Yeah. I'll create as many phony emails as I have to get the sign-up bonuses.
Cool.
Okay, AFK achievement. So your three nominees are Leclerc starting P2 but finishing P8. Ever since he signed that damn Ferrari contract, it has just been...
Maybe we should switch back to Brembos.
Number 2, the FIA safety standards.
Jeez, you're really giving that a slow news week.
Hey, some people might say it's lazy podcasting. I say it's superb comedic writing.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I say.
So it's not lazy podcasting. It's why do we nail down 3 categories?
Moving on.
How can I fill these categories?
Moving on. The third nominee, Sky Sports excellent coverage. So there's multiple times here where, and I'm sure you'll remember it, where we were watching fans' heads rather than on-track passes.
Yeah.
The commentators multiple times were describing something that was happening in a replay just for them to cut away from the actual highlight. And then leaving them questioning like, oh, well, that was a shame we didn't get to see the actual highlight we tuned in to watch, but, we carry on.
Yeah.
So, Sky Sports, they pay a shit ton of money for the rights to broadcast the Formula One. We are at their mercy, and this is the slop that we get from them.
It did make me laugh. And again, this is where I can appreciate Brundle. Minimal excitement in the race. And then you get the Hadjar versus Leclerc battle. And then they cut to a camera angle where bloke's head, giant head,
literally
this
on the
dude
apex.
had a melon blocking the entire hairpin. And I don't know where this camera was situated that they had to be fixated on bloke's head while the action's happening in front of him. But the best thing was, Crofty. Oh, this guy's got a great view of the action while we look at the back of his head. It's like, oh, man, you literally couldn't see anything.
It's like they hired some dipshit from film school who's like, he thinks he's
artistic.
He thinks he's David Lynch or Quentin Tarantino. And he's like, oh, yeah. We don't actually need to see the apex of the corner or cars passing. Yeah, we're giving the POV of what it's like to be on the grandstand here at this corner. And,
That was frustrating. And then the second one, though, that got me was... Yep, the first 3 crossing the line within 2.5 seconds, it's exciting. It's all good, very good stuff. But then what do? They cut to Pierre Gasly, who's half a second behind Hulkenberg, racing for 13th position in the last sector of the track where, as I said earlier, overtaking just doesn't happen. So you're watching 2 guys who they just don't matter. 2 guys that don't matter, racing for a position that does not matter, for an overtake that is never going to happen in a million years. We're watching that instead of what we could be watching, Oscar Piastri, crossing the line in 4th. Yeah, congratulations, Oscar. Good stuff. Let's go. All right, Lewis Hamilton, 7-time. Crossing, that's fantastic. Yeah, go, Lewis. It's good stuff. But no, we've got to watch this insignificant battle that is not going to happen. That's what we're watching. As soon as the top 3 cross the line, that was like, we need to see this.
Yeah.
Why? Why? Tell me why. Why do we need to see that?
So I'm detecting a lot of...
It's the Sky... You laid that perfectly because it's AFK, and the AFK was Sky Sports' great coverage. It was missing because it wasn't great.
So what you're saying is I'm a talented podcaster?
Yeah, you're fantastic.
Hey, at least I stay up and watch the races. And
I got the race in before I came here. I'm committed. Also, what do you reckon? How long does Ocon last? Lots of swirling the pot rumours.
I've never been a fan of Ocon, and I've been very vocal. I don't know why the guys in the cockpit.
Yeah, Behrman's just pooping all over him too.
Yeah, they had Jack doing as the reserve driver, so it would be kind of nice to see him get back in the car and see if he can have a second go at it.
Yeah.
I did see something about him maybe going to Indy or moving out of Formula One entirely. Things were done.
They mostly go to Indy.
But yeah, I mean, usually when there's rumors, there's an element of truth there, and I don't see what the appeal of keeping this guy in the seat is. So
no, he's not. He's French in an American team, so it's not even like he had the Alpine thing.
No.
I don't see any French money on the car.
No.
He's certainly not performing, especially up to Behrman's. Behrman's doing really well. They're going to lose Behrman, no doubt, in 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's some they need to bring.
Yeah, and they're a team that's kind of on the rise, so they want to have drivers that will help.
Bring Jack in now. 2-3 years when Behrman leaves, you bring someone else in. Jack's the senior. It's great. That's the plan. Jack over Ocon.
All right. That was the Austrian Grand Prix. Thanks for joining us once again this week. Like, subscribe, comment. We always appreciate the interaction.
Yep.
Next week is Silverstone. I'm keen. I am so keen.
That is always a good one.
I love going to Silverstone.
Yeah.
I think as well with Hamilton's kind of late form flourishing, you kind of get excited at the prospect of do we see another Hamilton win here, and can he put it to the Mercs?
And everyone brings their A game to Silverstone.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Piastri is quite good at Silverstone. McLaren's are looking a little more solid, so you do kind of go into the weekend thinking it could be anyone's race. Verstappen, their upgrades that Red Bull just brought, they're looking fast all of a sudden.
And everyone's going home. Every base is there. Every team's there. They've got all their... Everyone will be bringing upgrades to Silverstone.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, or that's it?
No, that's it.
Thanks for joining us. Love you, Timmy.
Right. Well,
love to the viewers. Hit the love button.
Hit the love button.
Yep, hit the heart. And we'll see you next week.
All right. See you then.
Ciao.
See ya.